Hello, Christine here with my weekly update for you. I'm a little bit late this week. It's Monday, December 1st, and I had planned to record this yesterday, but didn't get around to it. So here we are, first day of December. And how did I do? Okay, let's just jump into the health journey. And praise the Lord, I lost 0.6 pounds. So just over half a pound. We are thrilled. So weighed 207 this morning. And what did I do right? I was trying to think about it because sometimes I just don't know. So the two things that I said I was going to do this week, I did do. I went to the gym. Now I didn't go every day because of the holiday and it just didn't work out schedule wise. But I went, I forget what day I talked to you, but I went the next day, and the next day, I think I got in twice this week. Let's see. Gym. Yeah, twice. That was Monday and Tuesday. And then I went again today. So today's Monday again. Boy, those days sure do fly by fast. Sorry, I'm trying to organize my thoughts and they're not organizing. So other than the gym, I did my set of exercises that I received from the physical therapist when I was doing that earlier this year. They're really great exercises for my legs. So I I don't enjoy them, but I benefit from them. So they are 10 exercises, and I do 3 sets of 10 for each movement, or if it's a stretch, then it's 30 seconds 3 times, and you get the gist. It takes me about an hour to go through them. And so I did that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. No, just Wednesday and Thursday. Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. And I just realized I forgot to log Sunday. I have no idea what I did Sunday. It is entirely blank. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. And then one day, all I did was 8 minutes of cycling on this. We have this home cycle. You just sit in a chair and it's like a bike pedals. And it seems like it's going to be really easy when you start off, but it actually does give you a little bit of a workout. I get tired. So anyway, I did 8 minutes of that, and yeah, it was not a heavy exercise day, but I did something every day. So that was good. That was a win. And what else did I do right? I incorporated more veggies. I tried to think of veggies when I would put a meal together and make sure there was something in there vegetable wise. I also had a couple of green smoothies. I've modified my green smoothie from what I was doing at the outset months ago, because it was just too much to try and consume 64 ounces of green smoothie in one day. It was not good to my digestive system at all. So I divide it between 2 days, and I will drink half the first morning and half the next morning. It only lasts, that's like about the limit of how long you can save it in the fridge before it's not very appealing. So even on that second day, you have to give it a good stir to get everything mixed up again. Also, I enjoyed, I picked up some mini cucumbers at Sam's Club and the little grape tomato or Wild Wonder tomatoes. They're like cherry tomatoes in different colors. And carrots. And I sliced up all my cucumbers and washed the tomatoes and made carrot sticks out of all my carrots. And then when I didn't have anything else vegetable wise, I would just get a bowl and put those 3 things in: cucumber slices, tomatoes, I cut them in half, about 6 or 7, and then several carrot sticks. I just cut them in smaller pieces, and add salt and pepper, olive oil, and balsamic vinegar. Just toss it around with the fork, and it's delicious, and you get some vegetables in. Now they are raw, so I try to drink plenty of water and just not get too crazy with them, because sometimes if I eat too many raw carrots, my stomach doesn't like that either. So anyway, I did that, and also had just carrot and celery sticks with like peanut butter a couple times as a snack. And for Thanksgiving, we had a lovely dinner. We didn't have turkey, but that's fine because we have a lot of turkey lately, or we have been having a lot of turkey lately, so I did not miss it. We ordered a meal from Outback, one of our favorite restaurants, and so we had steak, which was delicious, and their mashed potatoes, Outback mashed potatoes, is like my favorite food. I'm sure they're terribly fattening, but I had that, and I think it came with bread, and my husband chose French fries as one of the sides because that's his favorite side, and a green salad. I think that was it. And it was a family meal, so that lasted us I think we were eating it 3 days. There might still be a little bit of the steak even left in the fridge today. So we enjoyed that. And to add another vegetable to that, I found some wonderful fresh green beans at Sam's Club when I was there. Just happened to walk by them, and they were on sale, and they looked great. It was a bag. I didn't realize at the time, but it was a bag that you could just stick in the microwave and steam. But I wanted to have them with butter and cook them on the stove. So I found a recipe, really easy recipe for buttered green beans on, I think it's the Food Network. And super easy. You just blanch them, and then you put the butter and some spices. I don't even remember what all spices they had in them. It wasn't complicated. It wasn't too much. So then you melt all that, and then you put the beans back in after you pat them dry, so you don't put a bunch of water into the butter. Toss them around, heat them up again, and you're good to go. Oh, onions. When you melt the butter and the spices, you saute some onions in there as well. It was supposed to be shallots, but I didn't have any shallots, so I used chopped onions, and it worked great. And they were delicious. So, yeah. Let's see. Oh, also, I do this wonderful spinach egg breakfast bowl that I learned from Faithful Workouts, Michelle. I don't even think it's one of the recipes on her website. It was she has several menu plans that you can follow to give you a head start if you're starting to watch your diet. And so it was one of the breakfasts that she lays out for you. And I'm gonna do a video of it soon because I love this recipe, and it is so satisfying. And you get some spinach in, and some protein with the eggs, and some avocado, and it's easy. And tomatoes. I think that's it. Super easy. My husband even enjoys it, and he typically doesn't go for anything weird. So yeah, I'll show you soon. I want to do a little prep video to show you how I make it, because I just enjoy that so much, and I think others would too. So, yeah, so diet went well, I think. Well, the scale showed it. I kept up with my Bible time as well, not just in the mornings, but throughout the day. When I have a chance, I'll just read something or listen to some beautiful music. Just try and keep my mind, like I've said before, just focused on the right things. And I've been working through my little commentary on Zechariah that I mentioned months ago, I think. I'm almost there. We're getting close. I am on Zechariah chapter 12, and there's 14 chapters in the book. This is a commentary on the book of Zechariah in the Bible. Wow, it is amazing. I had no clue what was in Zechariah before now. I have never, ever studied it to the depth that I've been lately in this, going through this commentary. So it's been wonderful. But I'm purposely taking it slow because it's deep. You want to ponder some of the things for a while. You don't want to just rush through it. So, and I also get daily text devotions, daily email devotions from Grace to You. The text devotions I've mentioned before come from my brother, and it's an app called YouVersion, and they send it to you, and he just forwards them to us to make it easy for his siblings to enjoy them as well. Every morning, 4 a.m., there comes my text message. He gets started very early on his day. And I'm also going through a couple of Bible reading plans, where they divide up the Bible for the year, so you read through it in a year. I've usually got 5 or 6 days to catch up on, so I kind of do it in splurts. And I am currently behind, but I am getting through that. And also the little devotional I mentioned before, Grace and Glory by Louis Giglio. I will open that on occasion. So I don't do all these things every day, but I pick up some of them every day. And those are pretty much my go-to resources to be in the Word every day. And yeah, they help. They totally help. And and then on top of all of that, Faithful Workouts had their No Shame November. So she was sending out an encouraging email every morning, and week mornings, not the weekends. And so I read those, and sometimes there's a little video accompanying them. And yesterday was the last one for the series. It was the end of November. And she mentioned a wonderful resource. I'd never heard of him before. His name is Dr. Lee Warren, and he is a neurosurgeon. He's a Christian, and he has a YouTube channel and a podcast, and he ties in the workings of your brain with the scriptures that talk about renewing your mind. And I'm aware of that scripture and have prayed it many a time, asking the Lord to renew my mind and to replace the lies with truth and, all that I've been talking about. He takes it a step further, and he explains how you actually, I can't even reiterate exactly how he explains it yet, because I've only watched a couple of his podcasts. But it is fascinating how your brain can actually rewire itself as you are thinking on the good things, as you are filling your mind with the good thoughts, and you are rejecting the bad ones or the lies that you've been telling yourself. Oh, one thing that's interesting that he says is we think the same thoughts every day, for the most part, over and over. And a lot of times they are negative thoughts. And, you know, those thoughts that beat us up and just tear us down and make us feel like we're not good enough or we're not worthy. And they're kind of, the word that comes to my mind is self-fulfilling, because the more, he also says, the more you do something, the better you are at it. So the more that we think on those negative thoughts, the better we are at thinking negative thoughts. And it becomes this self-fulfilling thing, because then we act on those, we react to those lies and negative thoughts, and just go down that path. And there's actually a physical thing going on in our brain based on these thoughts that we think. And it is amazing how he says you can, what does he call it, self-surgery on your brain, as you learn to manage those thoughts. You know how that's that scripture that says take every thought captive? He's putting it into science and explaining just how you're going to do that, and giving you systems and tools to use. It's kind of like the next progression to the thought, to everything I've been learning recently about replacing lies with truth. And I'm just blown away, and I'm anxious to watch more of his podcasts and learn more and start filling my mind with good things and have that translate into good actions and good behavior, which will then lead to a healthier me. Yep, it's all tied in. So great find, Dr. Lee Warren. Yeah, I'll probably talk about him some more as I learn more of his podcasts, and I'll link his YouTube channel in the description box if you want to check him out already. There were some things that I did wrong this week, so I will go ahead and confess those, because I learned from them, and maybe you can learn something too. On one of my grocery runs, I was at Walmart and just got sucked into that bakery section. And you know those little, well, maybe they're not so little, but they're smaller pieces of cake that they sell. They'll cut up a cake and sell you just, you know, slices rather than buy a whole cake, for those of us who don't want to eat a whole cake. Well, I love those little slices of cake, but I'll tell you, this time it just totally backfired on me. And I'm so thankful for it, because I want to remember how sick I felt. I got tempted by a piece of lemon cake, and on the whole servings and nutrition thing, it says it's supposed to be 2 servings, and I eat the whole thing. And this may be TMI for some of you, but I got so constipated. I think it was that shortening frosting that somehow they make to taste good, and they make it taste like lemon and sugar and all the good things. And I swallowed it up, but I know that was it, because I hadn't eaten anything else weird. Because within, well, probably that night or the next morning, I was suffering. It was like, if any of you have ever been on anesthesia, and when you come out of that first movement that you have to force through can be sheer pain. The anesthesia tends to back you up and everything. So if you're not taking anything to move things along, yeah, your first BM is painful. At least that's been my experience, and so I hate going under anesthesia. But that's what this cake did to me, and oh, I just wanted to cry. It took a while to clear that horrible, horrible frosting out. It must have been just to me, it seemed in my mind like it was a giant glob of shortening that just went through my system, did not digest whatsoever, and then just backed up everything. And yeah, I've never given birth, but to me it seemed like I was giving birth. And that baby did not want to come. Okay, enough. I don't usually talk about that kind of stuff, but there was a lesson in that, and I wanted to share that because I need to stop buying those slices of cake. They're not good for me. The flavorings are probably all chemical and fake, and I don't need them. I do not need them. I'm better off having one cookie or one anything. I'm staying away from that cake. Yeah. I also wanted to mention, it brings to mind a book. I like to listen to audiobooks while I crochet. And I came across one called Salt, Sugar, Fat. I'll link it in the description box. I forget who wrote it, but he went on a research journey into how the big food companies make their processed foods. General Mills. He talks a lot about the fact that Philip Morris bought, I forget which one it was they bought, but they bought another big food company, and they use the same tactics that they used to sell cigarettes to promote or to market their processed snacks and junk food, and the fact that the 3 key ingredients they use and they formulate to make these foods addictive are salt, sugar, and fat. They work to achieve what they call a bliss point, where the brain reacts in the most favorable way to the taste, and that is where they stop, and that's what they manufacture. And he does a really good job of explaining everything that he found out without getting emotional about it, or, you'll feel the outrage rising in you as you listen to it or read it if you read the book. But he doesn't go there. And I found that interesting. I kind of wanted him to. I wanted him to get angry. But no, he was all about providing the information, and the information is shocking. Yeah. So I highly recommend that book. I need to listen to it again. It's on. I had to be on a waiting list for a while before I could get it. I just check it out from the free online library. But sometimes he gets a little technical, but you'll get it. You'll get the gist of it, and it's ugly. It's really ugly, but I think it's really important to know, because nobody else is going to tell you this stuff. Big food is not going to come out and confess what they're doing to make their foods addictive, and it's like they have made attempts to reduce the salt content or the sugar content, but then the foods taste horrible and they can't sell them. So they go back to their tried and true methods. And they know that, there's an obesity crisis in the country, and their profits are more important, and their shareholders, and selling these fake foods is more important. They're not out for our benefit. They're out for theirs, and their goal is to sell more. And to make foods. It doesn't even seem like they're food, you know? Like the nutrition value of these things is so low that I just want to call them pseudo foods or I lost my train of thought. Anyhow, it's good information and it's worth listening to, especially in an audiobook. It doesn't cost you anything to borrow it from the library and listen while you crochet or work on whatever hobby you're working on. My screensaver went on. What else did I want to mention? Oh, my failings. The other sad fail I had was I discovered, I think it was on that same trip to Walmart, I need to not go in the store. It's just too tempting. I noticed they sold buñuelos. Now buñuelos is like, there's almost an emotional reaction to buñuelos because my mom would make them every New Year's, and it was a family tradition. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, a buñuelo looks like a tortilla, but the dough is a little bit different. I think it's more elastic and they roll it out thinner for a buñuelo. And so it's this round piece of dough that looks like a tortilla. They fry it, and then before it cools off, they sprinkle it with a combination of cinnamon and sugar, and they shake them up in there. So it's got the taste of like a churro, but it's not as doughy because it's just a flat, very thin tortilla-like product. And my mom would make them by the dozens because every year she would invite the whole church to our house after New Year's Eve service to come have buñuelos and hot chocolate, or they called it atole. It's like a Mexican chocolate. And she was known for this. And we grew up going to a very tiny church, and then the church grew as we got older, but she would still do that every year. And so the gathering became more the old timers, the ones that knew about it. When the church was huge, she didn't make an announcement to the whole church anymore. We couldn't handle that, obviously. But the pastor and family, and it would end up being a good number of people. They would kind of it was kind of like an open house type thing. They would come in, sit down. We had a table for 8, I think. And they'd sit down and have their buñuelo and fellowship a little bit, and then they'd move on, and the next group would come in, and that's how it worked. And they're delicious. So, I have all that memory in me. And I saw buñuelos at Walmart. They had the whole round thing, maybe a pack of 5 or 6. And then they had them broken up into chips, and they called them buñuelo chips. And I thought, well, I'll get one of the chips. How much damage can I do with a few chips? Well, I had no control. I had a serving, and then I went back for more. And I think I ate more than half of that container. My husband had some, but I know I ate most of them. I just couldn't stop. So yeah, buñuelos is no longer going to be gracing my grocery cart. So that was my other big fail. I almost messed up again this morning. I made a grocery order to pick up this morning, and I always look at the weekly ad to see what's on sale. And Pepperidge Farm cookies at Kroger were 3 packages for $10. That's like $3.33 a package, and that's pretty good because those cookies are up to, I don't know what they charge now, $5 or $6 for one little pack of Pepperidge Farm. I don't even buy them anymore out of outrage about the price, mainly. So when I saw them on sale, it was like, oh, I gotta get them. No, I did not need to get them, but I did. Well, I put them in my order. Turns out the only thing, and I didn't get the text till like I was ready to go pick up the order. I didn't look at it until then. But I had chosen 3 different flavors. 2 of the flavors were out of stock, so I only ended up getting 1 package of cookies. So I didn't get the deal because it was 3 for $10, but you had to buy 3. So I didn't get the deal, and I only got 1 package of cookies. And I was gonna complain, and then I thought to myself, this is the Lord's mercy. You did not need 3 packages of Pepperidge Farm cookies. He let you have 1, be thankful for that, and move on. Yes, I paid $1.50 more, so I guess they were $4.59 or something. It's less than $1.50. Anyway, I think the regular price, sale price of them was $4.59 if you didn't buy 3 of them. And I got a taste of cookies, and yeah, I need to not. I just thought it was funny that was the only thing that was out of stock is those cookies. It says in the Bible that the Lord gives you a way of escape when you're faced with temptation, and that was totally my way of escape this morning. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. Okay, so there's my health update, my triumphs, my fails, and overall, thankfully, the scale did go down a little bit, and we will be trying to continue on that path. And a cool thing, I'll just share one more thing on that note. I mentioned that I've been tracking my rings on my iWatch now. There's a standing, exercise, and movement. And you've got these goals to meet every day, and if you do, it closes the little ring. And so there's 3 of them. And so my goal is to close all 3 rings every day. And to get the exercise one, no, to get the movement one to close was a real challenge for me. So I wasn't moving enough early in the day, so I would get to the end of the day and not have enough movement in, and I was getting frustrated. Well, I've been doing really well on my rings, and so I just wanted to mention that that's a goal now, to close those rings every day. I did it 16 days out of 30 for November, and I looked back at October and I had done 8 days, so we're doing better. So the goal is to pass 16 for December. I'm not going to try and get 31 because my brother said it wasn't, I said it wasn't realistic. He said it might be realistic, but it's good to go slow as you're increasing your activity. So he recommended shooting for the full month for January, and for December, just meeting or exceeding what I did in November. So I will be watching those rings and moving more. Okay, another good tool. Crochet. Let's move on to crochet. I'm very talkative today. I didn't finish anything, but I made some progress on 3 of my whips. This is the doll outfit. It is some Dr. Scrubs, and I still have to do the jacket, the white jacket, but I had mentioned that I stalled on it because I ran out of yarn. So these are the pants. So cute with their little drawstring. And here's the cap. This is for an 18-inch doll. Here's the little shoes. These were already done last week. I'm just reviewing. And then here's the mask. And then I finished with the yarn that I got at Hobby Lobby, the shirt. So, well, I still have to do the button. Actually, the button is the very last piece. No, then I do need to do the white doctor jacket. So yeah, I'm close to done with the shirt. I just need to attach a button to close the back. And it's got a little pocket. So, very cute. I haven't even tried this on the doll. Hopefully it fits fine. So that was my doll outfit. Next, my gingham blanket. I did make some progress on this. I got another square done. Oh, this was a pattern by Pamela at Adoring Doll Clothes. And she has an Etsy store, and just search for Pamela's Adoring Doll Clothes. I think it's just Adoring Doll Clothes on Etsy. And this is a gingham baby blanket by Daisy Farm Crafts, is the designer. And I finished another square. So we've done two rows, and I just dropped something. And I just started the third section. So there'll be five rows altogether. So now I'm gonna repeat the first row. And this is feeling so nice. It's Hobby Lobby. I love this cotton. It's got a nice weight to it. And so I'm happy with that progress. At this rate, I'll be done in 3 weeks for 3 more rows. So that is that. And lastly, what was the other thing? Oh, so I started another project and I almost finished it. I was watching Mdays vlog, and I had made one of her scarves. She calls it the Mdays scarf. So it was hot pink with a blue trim, and I decided I wanted to make another one in a more neutral color. So it works up really fast. This is already the completed scarf. It's just a little one that you tie around your neck, and it has a ruffle on the end. And with this one, I'm doing the ruffle in the same yarn. I just continued on. Now, the thing about this, I decided to use a Stenley cake. I have had this Stenley cake for a while. I received it in a mystery box from, I think this was from J Hook Crochet. I don't want to take it out of this because it's getting kind of loose, and I don't want to mess up the cake. But it has gradually grown longer and longer. And I saw this other crocheter who recommended to keep your skein intact, to put it in a basket the same size and then not to move it from there. So just to work out of that. I didn't have a basket, but I had this nice Rubbermaid. And these are the colors in this cake. And I wasn't really feeling doing a shawl of the whole thing. The whole cake is like 1,000 yards. It's their Merino Cake 1000. And so I decided to do the Mdays scarf with just the browns. And so now I'm kind of playing yarn chicken because I'm hoping that that middle there is enough to do the ruffle. The ruffle uses a lot of yarn. It's 6 double crochets and a triple in each little scallop. So we'll see. Now I'm going to be really sad if I can't make it because I don't want to get into the dark color because, you know, it's not anywhere else in the scarf and it'll look weird. The gradual change to the orangier color looks good, I think, because it goes well with the lighter tan. But I can't go further than that. So if I don't make it, I'll have to frog the ruffle and find another yarn to use for the ruffle. That's my only option because I guess I could go to the dark and make the ruffle all dark. No, I don't want to play with this anymore because if that's not enough, I'm going to be really upset. No, I'll go and find another fingering weight yarn. I'm sure I have something I can use for the ruffle. And yeah, but I've never worked with a Stenley cake before. This is really nice. This is one of those cakes that is not, it's not the strands are not twisted together. It's just 4 strands, and they recommend using a bead to hold the strands in place. So I found a really tiny bead there, and it was a challenge finding a needle then that was tiny enough to thread with the yarn and then poke it through the bead, but I managed. And I think I actually I finally used my needle threader. I had one with a wire that was thin enough to fit through the bead. Anyhow, enjoy working with the Stenley cake, but am now playing yarn chicken with that orangey tan color to finish the ruffle. So stay tuned for next week and see if I make it. And those are the 3 projects that I worked on this week as far as crochet. Now, I was tempted to do a Vlogmas because now and then I just think of things that I would love to share, and it's been happening more often, and it's not really related to the diet or the crochet, but just stuff that I think would be helpful or encouraging, or maybe a recipe that I want to show you. So I was gonna try and do Vlogmas, but I don't think I can do a video every day at this point in my life. And so I watched for a few more videos from me this month. Not every day, maybe a few a week, hopefully, maybe 2 or 3 a week. And I'll throw in some other content hopefully you'll enjoy and get something out of. And I can share some treasures I have found recently, or just some of my favorite recipes. I want to share those too. I hope you all have a great week, and I will see you next week, Lord willing, or in my next video if it's sooner than that, which hopefully it will be. Okay, see you later.